I tried to do it.
You did good. You did good.
I think I was gonna. I didn't think I was gonna hit that octave.
You know what?
Sheesh.
You got it. You got it.
That was hilarious. You sent me down a YouTube rabbit hole with that thing. Thank you for that.
Oh, dude,
by the way.
right? It's a deep hole of nothingness.
I've never seen that before. I was like, how is this? How have I not seen this before?
I had only just found out about it, I think Saturday, and it was I'm a big fan of the Scooter Swap Shop, and they're here in town, and they do videos and live casts and stuff, and they just put in like small blurbs of songs, and I heard the song and it says it's sheesh, and I'm like, what? What is that? I've never heard of that before.
Everyone listening to this podcast should just go to YouTube and just search sheesh, and then everyone know what we're talking about.
It's already a thing. It's just we're helping it become more of a thing to the people that don't know.
Dude, all right. Before we get too deep, let me introduce you, Joey Marstall, on the podcast, owner of Double J Motorwerks and creator of the Pacific Waterland car show event. I'm so excited to have you on, like legit super excited to have you on and talk to you.
Hey,
so.
I'm happy to be on here as well, and I'm excited. So we could talk about whatever you got on your agenda, brother.
I am so excited because I recently it's been 6 years now, relocated to Pacific Northwest. And so I've been trying to get kind of embedded with the scene here. Dude, Pacific Waterlands has been a kind of staple in the Pacific Northwest scene as far as car shows. So to be able to have you on and talk to you and get some history within the Pacific Northwest scene, like really gets me excited, So thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And with that, though, the car show is coming up, dude. We're super close. September 12th.
We are.
And rumor is it's the 15th anniversary of the car show.
It is. It would have been the 16th, but we missed a year for COVID reasons. So we're happy to celebrate the 15th year with everybody this year.
Dude, it's going to be so awesome, and we'll talk about it more, but I already know so many people who are building cars and like stoked, like everyone around me talking about it. I'm hearing about caravans. I'm hearing like... So I think
cruises,
this year, yeah, dude.
I mean, barbecues, car washes, you name it. I mean, people plan for this.
Oh, dude, it is. I'm so stoked. I actually have a bunch of friends from Northern California that are going to come up, and then we're going to all caravan to the car show. So
nice.
So excited.
Looking forward to it.
This is going to be the only legit VW Audi show that I'm going to make it to this year. So I'm like triple excited.
You know what? It's going to be a lot of that for a lot of people as well. First show this season. We're excited to put it on and have everybody come and hang out and make new friends and see friends that they haven't seen and cars and the whole thing, man. It's a big party.
I've been to, I think this will be my third or fourth, maybe fifth. I'm going to say fourth Pacific Waterland show. Never had a bad time there. Like it's always a good time.
I've never heard of a bad time at our car show.
And I'm not just saying that because you're on my podcast.
No, but I mean, hey, there are situations that can arise. They don't have it at our show.
All right, before we get more into the car show, we'll definitely talk about that in more depth. I kind of want to get your personal history, dude, because you're like a rich treasure trove of Pacific Northwest Volkswagen history. So I want to crack into that nut, so to speak. So how did you get into VWs and Euros? Like, what started you down the path?
It was, I was influenced at a young age, probably like 16 years old. And it was a neighbor down the road from us in the city. And he lived at, his address was very unique. His address was 428th Street. And this guy had lots of Volkswagens. And
did he sell weed?
Yes. I mean, you really have to ask.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
But he had lots of Volkswagens, and dude, he knew how to make those things look cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he had body kits and loud exhaust and lower down and just it was just awesome. And I was like, wow, I want to be a part of that.
Nice.
And so I met him, and he had a good personality to like hang out with, being a stranger, and
Stranger danger.
Right. Well, but I mean, like, like I didn't know him,
Yeah.
and I was just super taken back by all of his cool cars, and so that was kind of the start of it, and that was probably, I want to say, my freshman, sophomore year of high school.
Okay. What year was this, would you say?
90?
90? Okay.
1990?
So we're talking Mark 1s, Mark 2s.
Oh yeah, that Mark 1s, Mark 2s, and everything in between, you know what I mean, of Volkswagen.
Okay. Some air-cooleds in there, Scirocco's maybe.
Dasher wagons,
Ooh.
Quantums. I mean, the oddball weirdos
Yeah. We're getting
are
eclectic.
honestly, they're cool now. I want a Dasher 2-door hatchback.
I want a Quantum, dude, for sure.
Yeah, I want a
Synchro.
78 Dasher wagon.
Yeah.
White 4-door wagon, just a 1.6, and just leave it stock.
Those are super rad and super harder to come by. But I feel like in the Pacific Northwest, I see way more of them up here than I ever did when I was in California.
I would agree with that. It seems to be that the Pacific Northwest is the mecca of all old Volkswagens and Porsches. Like, there's Porsches that just come out of the woodwork from here, and Volkswagens too, for that matter. I mean, in their own right, water-cooled Volkswagens, that just have this amazing history that you would be like, well, yeah, I know about that. It's here in Portland?
Right.
Yeah! And it's coming to the show. So, it's awesome. We have a really good gathering and grouping of awesome Volkswagens here in the Northwest.
Dude, a lot of cool stuff. And so Neighbor kind of got you started. High school, freshman, sophomore. We're talking early 90s. So with that, how did that, like, what was your first Volkswagen then?
My first Volkswagen was a agate brown 1977 two-door Rabbit.
Yes.
And it had the tan peanut butter interior and the molded high-back tombstone seats. And it was awesome. I love that car. Now, remind you, this is high school, dude. Okay, high school, you are doing everything you can to be cool.
Yeah.
So I lived a block away from high school, and you bet your ass I drove that shit to school and parked in the school parking lot. So
hell yeah, dude.
It was a brown 77 Rabbit.
Dude, that's sick. I have a Inca Brown 79 right now. It's one of my stable cars. I absolutely love it. Mine's a diesel. Was your a diesel or gas?
No, I'm a gasser and a diesel guy, but that one was a gasser. That one was a gasser, and I'm glad. Only because, dude, I'm 16. I need to haul ass, and you cannot be in a hurry in a diesel. Sorry, not a Mark 1 diesel.
No, definitely not.
If you own one, anybody out there owns one, you can never be in a hurry.
I had two at one point.
You thought you were going to get there quicker.
Not only are Mark 1 diesel Rabbits slow, but then when you slam them on the ground to where your control arms are hovering above the pavement, then they're a lot slower.
Yeah, they definitely are a slow bird for sure.
So in the early 90s, you're driving a Rabbit to high school. What are all the other kids driving though? Because Rabbits are cool now, but like when I was in high school, for instance, like Volkswagens in general weren't cool. Was that kind of the same vibe you had?
No way.
No?
No way, man.
I wanted to go to your high school, dude.
Oh, it was all about either like a Mustang, a 5.0 Mustang, because they were still making those, those things back then.
Yeah.
It was either a Mustang or, dude, the brand new cars that came out that every dude had to have was an Acura Integra.
Oh.
And these are the old school ones where it was, I don't know the body style or designation.
The boxy ones.
It was called an LS. It was an Acura Integra LS 2-door hatchback. It was kind of like an Accord, but it was like a way more, classier, shinier, whatever. And then, dude, Volkswagens. Always Volkswagens.
What?
Like a 90 GTI 16-valve Jetta GLIs.
What?
Scirocco 16 valves.
What?
A red Corrado G60.
Dude.
We had awesome cars.
Yeah.
At my high school.
My high school was like, you weren't cool unless you drove a muscle car. And they're usually like the kids' dad's projects that they finally finished and gave to their kids. And so they were just all primered out muscle cars. And it was like, literally, that's what all the kids had. Mustangs, Camaros. And we're getting into like, even like the Fox bodies and then like the mullet Camaros, like the 90s, the late 90s Camaros.
Those are considered Kentucky waterfall.
Those were like all the cars all the kids wanted in my high school. And I drove a Mark III Jetta. Definitely wasn't picking up chicks in that thing.
Yeah. At that time period, probably not, especially a Jetta.
I had the same car as all the cheerleaders.
Sorry.
That's so awesome, though, dude. That's such a great first car. So, like, back in those days, like, what were you doing to modify the Rabbit? Because it wasn't like nowadays where you can just, hop on a parts catalog and oil coilovers and all this other stuff. You had to actually, like, do work. I mean, there was aftermarket performance stuff. Like, New Speed was around. There's like a lot of
Autotech, Tectonics. The big names were around then for sure. That was when you could what was it? Mail them or email them or not email, but I mean you would mail them and ask for a copy of their catalog, and you'd get like a big old paper catalog, and you flip through and you dog ear the pages and you highlight shit, and you're like, I want that. And,
dude, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's when you could probably get a lot of the cool OEM stuff still too, huh?
Don't think that we have smart ideas here now that are like genius. I mean, years ago, I would call up Autotech, dude, you still have a Magna charger, don't you? Come on, it's on the back shelf. You still have that Moroso valve cover. They ain't got any of that. It's all gone. It's all gone. So, but yeah, a lot of the cars that I went to high school with were Volkswagens. However, I will make this quick point. At the time of me being a freshman and then making my way through high school, this was when the seniors, when I was in high school, these seniors looked like adults. Like beards, like
mustaches,
all at lunch. Oh, dude, for sure. These were adults going to school, and with my generation coming in as like a transitional period, it was like little Joey, little Joey. Here comes little Joey, and
his rabbit.
And so yeah, it was and his little shitty rabbit, right? But yeah, there were those guys that had the clapped out primer gray Novas. It was a transitional period, and so I got to see these import smaller cars come in at the same time. So it was kind of nice.
Dude,
to see that in high school.
That's awesome. So from the Rabbit, like, what did you do to that to modify it? Like, what were some of the early modifications you started doing?
Well, so that we're all clear here, not many 16-year-olds know shit about cars. So I'm gonna be straight up with you, dude. My mechanical upbringing was very small at that point. I did have a father that was, he taught us, wrenches and grinding on shit and, putting a small block 289 into a Ford Courier, but he did most of the work. But when it comes to like, dad's not around and you're on your own, those were teeth cutting days. So what I would do was, of course, drill the bottom of the bumper and push them in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Get those bumpers up close.
We're still doing that.
number one, right? And then if you knew the right people, you could get some GTI snowflakes. Or the big wheel back in the day was, dude, honest to God, it was the teardrop or the BBSs. And ain't nobody got the money for BBSs when you're 16, so it was either the GTI snowflakes, or the teardrops with or without the center cap. So, other than that, I just tried doing maintenance. So like this time I had oil pressure light going off, and I go ask my buddy Matt that got me into Volkswagen. I'm like, dude, what do I do? The shit's buzzing and blinking and fuck, what? And he says, well, here, put this in. And so I take it back to the house, and and I'm like, I'm doing things. I'm like, fuck, I'm working on my Volkswagen. Yeah. I get going, I fucking drop the hood, and I fucking start it up, and I'm out the driveway, and I'm going down, turn right. And I thought I was done. I was like, yeah, I did this. And I look at the rearview mirror, I'm like, what's that black line following me? I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, oh shit. So I stop the car, I push it back to the driveway, and well, yeah, I got half the job done. I took the bad one out, but I didn't put the new one in. So, there's a lot of trial and error.
That's hilarious.
I learned really quick.
That's so funny. That totally the first time I went to change the oil in my own car, I forgot to put the drain plug back into the oil pan before I started pouring the oil back in.
Yeah. Hey.
So I'm sitting there fuck, this thing takes a lot of oil. Crack open the next quart, where the fuck is this oil going? And underneath the car is just a giant pool of 5 quarts of oil.
Oh, yeah. Dude, you would not believe the lake 4 quarts makes, dude. 4 quarts makes a lake of oil.
Yes, it does.
And also, growing up working on these things by myself, I had friends that thought they knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they did. We all got by pretty far, considering, that. We never heard of the Bentley manual. What's that? It's that red book. It's the Bible, dude. Get one.
Yeah, dude.
So it was, you learn to read German, don't you? You learn to read German. Like when you're putting a head gasket on your Rabbit and it says OBEN. I have no idea what that means. I don't know any German friends. But you know what? Anybody can do this shit, right? So I put the gasket on, and yeah, well, you know what? Open means top, not bottom. And so, there's all of those trials and tribulations along the way working on cars at a very young age with no supervision.
Well, I'm sure, what's that saying? There's a saying about that. You kind of learn...
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. In my case, it was if it ain't
it's like
broke,
a trial and error.
Find out why it still works.
It's like a trial and error thing.
Oh yeah. But some of the mods that we would do, I'm remembering back now. So everybody wanted big bumpers on Mark II big bumpers on their Rabbit, but nobody wanted the cabriolet body kit. Okay, nobody wanted the cabriolet body kit, but we wanted the Mark II. Yeah, the clipper kit, right? But I really wanted the big bumpers. But when you hold that shit up to a car, it's like you got 4 inches on this side and 4 inches on this side. And so, dude, we'd knock the center out of it and glue that shit back together, dude. And we were fucking big bumper and Mark Ones, man. It was awesome.
I don't think I've seen that. That's not a thing anyone does anymore.
Well, it actually was a thing. And Mateague body kits, they actually made big bumpers that were fiberglass that were all shrunk down to fit the car.
I think I've seen this.
So it is a thing, Mateague.
I remember that company.
However you pronounce it, whatever.
They did all kinds of stuff. Wings, lips, side skirts.
Yeah,
they made a ton of stuff.
So that was one thing that we were doing. Let's see. We would take the I can't tell you whether it's from an air-cooled, but you remember the visor that went across the top of the windshield?
Yeah, dude.
Okay? We were putting that shit on there, because that was Bad Boys. Remember Bad Boys? Remember those stickers, Bad Boys?
Yeah, dude. The buff guy?
That shit on there, Locomotion, Sex Wax, all that shit, right?
That's like some air-cooled. That's like some air-cooled steez right there. That's what all the bug guys were doing, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Bugs never really go out of style, so they always get the in on their foot in the door. But because water cooled stuff was coming out, it kind of just transitions into water cooled stuff too. So, but yeah, big bumpers, visors, Zender 3-piece wings, dude. If you could find one, let's see, FYEAH rear spoiler, FYEAH seats. We were doing some of the other mods we would do is we had the side markers on the side of the car, right? And so front and rear, and they were screws from the outside. So we would take the screws out, put the side marker on the inside of the fender. Now you had just a round dot. Yeah, a little round dot. And then what we would do is we would hook up. We would have side indicators before side indicators were a thing. Which means that you would hook up your turn signal to your running lights, and so when you would put your left turn signal on, the front blinker would blink, and then when it would not blink, the side indicator, the side marker light would blink. So bang, 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 bang. It was awesome, dude. Like we were doing things.
I'm taking a list, and I'm gonna do half the shit to my Mark One now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw it back.
Right, and like another thing was the wink mirror. Remember the wink panel mirrors across the top? You get rid of that shit out of here, and you put the wink mirror in, and you don't even have to turn your head. Like I can see everything.
You know what's funny?
Everything.
I just got one of those for my Brown Rabbit. I'm not even joking. It just showed up yesterday.
Lucky. Like I remember putting one of those back onto my Rabbit because I took it off because I would keep my stuff, when I would sell the car and whatnot. Those are coveted items. Those are, and so I would keep those. And then like about the year 2000, I had an 82 Rabbit S. And that's the silver-only Rabbit, and it was before GTI, but it had GTI door panels, it had the snowflake wheels, but it did not have a 1.8, and so it had orange badges. You remember that? Rabbit S and a Scirocco S.
Yes.
And I put the wink mirror in my Rabbit, and I roll into work one day, and this guy looks at me and he goes, "Bro, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "What, dude?" I'm like, "Having fun with my Rabbit." And he goes, "Dude, I haven't seen that shit since 1970 something." And I'm like, "Well, dude, they work. They still work, and it works for me."
Race car drivers use them.
Yeah, I got kind of clowned on it, but I shake that shit off. I don't give a rat's ass. So, but yeah, we were doing stuff like that,
What about like motor swaps and stuff and like suspension? Let's talk about motor swaps first. Were you doing any?
Okay.
When did you get into like swapping motors?
So
16 valves, I'm assuming.
So clearly, if you had a Rabbit, and Mark IIs were already out, and the 1.8 low compression motor was in the earlier, Mark Ones, and then low compression Fox and whatever else, right? So, the hot motor was the GTI motor, the 10-to-1, 86 GTI. Put the knob box in it, and then of course, you could get the GTI short shift, the short ratio gearbox out of the Rabbits or the GTIs. So we were doing those.
Nice.
And that's when you found out that you need all of the 5-speed linkage parts for a Mark One from a Mark One. And so, you're like, it won't go into fifth. I just keep hitting third. Well, put the right stuff in. So we were doing stuff like that. Of course, G-grind cam. Like, dude, that was the shit.
Yeah.
G-grind cam is where it's at, bro. And then, let's see, the typical valve covers, Scat, Moroso, Odinger, those are the rare birds. But, like, I have a Scat one, I have a Moroso one.
Nice.
Just doing small tidbits. Dude, obviously, shaving the bay, dude. Get that EVAP shit out. The canister, all that, backfire, anti-backfire valve, get it out. Shave bay was a thing in the 80s, dude.
Nice, like a clean bay. You guys had emissions though, didn't you? Or no?
No. We this was the golden days of
Portland
black
emissions.
cloudy days. Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, we would try to tune up, advance the timing, jack up the CIS screw a little bit, we really had no idea what the hell we were doing. Widebands weren't things then, and data logging, any of that shit. It was just kind of, it's like, well,
butt dynos.
Better. I mean, I think
butt dynos.
Yeah, butt dyno, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that's the kind of stuff we were doing. Another big one was if you had a Rabbit and you didn't want the dual rounds, like that was like, oh, that's stupid. We want like a tack that, a big tack, because Rabbits didn't get the tack. You had to do a Scirocco 12-pin cluster from a Scirocco to get a tack into a Rabbit. Otherwise, you were pegging the clock. Okay, and so you would have to do that. And then if you didn't get lucky, you got a 14 pin that you had to do a conversion, and that's when you started learning the Bentley and the fold out, and then the fold out, and then the fold out fucking wiring schematic, dude. It's like, dude, it ain't got shit on Playboy for a pull out, okay? But yeah, we would learn how to do that shit on our own. And so we would do Jetta or Cabriolet dashboard swaps, and then you get to run the cool cluster, and you get the MFA. We would start doing all of that, and
dude, that's awesome.
It was a lot. We would take clusters apart. We were rolling that shit back, we rolled it back because cars we were doing this stuff already had 100 and something thousand miles on them, and so it's just we were having fun. We dig in. We were digging in.
That's awesome, dude. So what was after the Rabbit? What did you roll into? What was your second water-cooled Volkswagen?
Let's see. My second water-cooled Volkswagen. I had some other cars in between, and they just weren't for me.
Oh, like what?
Like an '83 Honda Civic S. It was not fun. I had an '82 Subaru GL 4-door front-wheel drive. Not even fun. Not even fun. But, bro, I was rocking the pull-out Alpine. Dude, you know I was.
Carrying it into the store with you?
Oh, yeah. Yes. But my second Volkswagen was a 1980 Rabbit. Nice. And I was dating, at the time I was dating my wife, Carrie, so it's a long time ago, and we got that car together, and we traded her 1988 Nissan Tony Stanza for this 1980 turquoise two-door Rabbit.
Nice.
And it was a straight across trade. I mean, they were like happy they got this Nissan Stanza, and they got rid of this old Rabbit. And so we rocked that, dude. That Rabbit was a good Rabbit, but we didn't get to love it forever. It did go through some bad times, and but I had the bug. I was all about Volkswagens at that point. Nice. I was seeing other friends with Volkswagens. I got wrapped up with another guy that was he was doing motor builds on a curb downtown. like he knew everything. So I started hanging out with that guy. And,
under a tarp.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really under a tarp. It was just under the sun. But yeah, then after I got out of that Rabbit, like I said, it didn't live very long. That's when I learned always look underneath of any Mark I before you buy it, because that car had a lot of rust, and so because it had rust, it had problems, and it couldn't live.
Yeah, especially in that area like Portland, you guys get a lot of rain. It's really wet over there.
There's not a lot of rust. There is, honest to God, not a lot of rust. We don't salt the roads. We don't use salt on the roads at any time of the year. So that's kind of why a lot of these old cars still live.
Nice.
It's just, it's fascinating that they're still on the road, but yet,
I figure
nobody wants to spend any money on them except us idiots that, pour our paychecks into them.
I figure you guys just stole all those cars from the high desert and drug them back to Portland.
No, dude, I had my eyeball. I got a little memo book in my car. It's in the door pocket, and anytime I ever see anything sitting, I write down what car it is, what's the house address, on what street, and what time what date I saw it. And dude, no shit, dude. I've got pages and pages of shit that I'll go back and look on. And it's like, oh shit. I mean, I got stories, dude. I got stories. I watched a Rabbit truck sit for 5 years, and nobody bought it. I couldn't believe nobody bought it, and I bought it. I bought that truck, and I drove that shit away. So,
was it just sitting on someone's yard or something with the for sale sign on it, or?
No, there was never a for sale sign. It was an '83 Rabbit pickup truck. It was that gold bronze color. It had the gem top canopy on it. And when I first noticed it, it had like crust around the tires. you know, and I'm like, yeah, it's sitting, you know, but it hasn't been sitting for very long. And people in Portland, they'll let their car sit for a year before they drive it.
Yeah.
And so I just let time go and drive by. Yep, it's still there, you know. Oh, look, oh, it's been a year. That shit's still there, right? You know, and I'm like, oh, there's a can of starting fluid on the bumper. That's a good sign. A can of starting fluid on the bumper and the hood popped, right? So I'm letting this shit rot to the ground, sitting for a couple more years, more cans of starting fluid start to appear, and I'm like, I better move on this thing, right? You know, I'm thinking like, you know, he's going to get frustrated and just like get rid of it, you know, or donate it. A lot of people donate cars. And so I go and I'm like, you know what? I don't know how much this thing's going to be, but I got to try. So I go up, knock on the door. Little old guy walks to the door, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I drive by here all the time. I know I'm a stranger, but I've been watching your rabbit truck sit there forever with cans of starting fluid. Like, does it not run? Like, talk to me, you know? What's going on? He's like, confound it. You know, just can't get it to run. And, you know, and I'm retired now. And I'm like, well, do you want to show me around the truck a little bit? And he says, yeah, come on, let's go. Nice. Instant best friends, right? Instant best friends. And long story short is he was a salesman, a traveling salesman. And in the bed of the truck, in the canopy, it was just books of like carpet samples and just flooring samples and just loaded. Like the truck's practically doing a wheelie, okay? Because it's just loaded.
Squat.
Yeah, it's got the Southern Carolina or California or whatever squat, whatever it is, some internet fame thing. But yeah, and then he's like, you know, we negotiated. He was willing to let it go, and I bought the truck for $200. And he goes like, well, how are you gonna get it home? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just gonna play with it. You know, we'll see what I can do. And so he goes inside. I give him the money. He comes out with the title, and I'm like starting to see. I'm like, I turn the key. And I don't hear a fuel pump, right? Dead giveaway. I'm like, right? So he gives me the title, and he goes, I'm like, I'll be all right. It's okay. I'll either get it running or I'll just tow it home, right? Yeah. So he's out. He's in the house, and I'm looking around, and I'm like looking in the back, and all these carpet pieces, and I'm like, okay. And
you own those now? Those come with the truck?
Yeah, right. And so I'm like, I know the fuel pump's not turning on. So I was like, okay, well, I know how to hotwire the fuel pump. So I'm like, okay, I'm looking for something to hotwire. I'm like, oh, door speaker wire. Boom. Rip that out. Pull some off. Strip that shit. Pull the relay out. And I'm like, oh fuck, we're partying. We're gonna party, dude. So I lift up the airbox, lift up the sensor plate, squeak, squeak, and I'm like, dude, let's go. So I cracked it off, started right up. I'm like, woo! And so, and I look over, and dude, he's looking at me in the front window.
He's like, motherfucker.
He's watching me, and you know, I'm like, well, hey,
swindled.
You know, no,
I'm
deal's
joking.
done. Deal is done.
How much did you pay? How much did you pay for the truck?
I paid $200 for the truck. Okay, and so I get the truck, and I'm like, and you know, and I'm being all cocky because I got the truck running. So I look through the window, I'm like, see ya, and I try to move, and dude, it won't. Dude, this thing is cemented to earth. I'm like, yeah, and just dumping the clutch, you know, and just trying to get this thing to move. And I finally got it, and I get to the top of the hill, and I go to hit the brake, and the brake pedal just goes to the floor, and it's not coming back up. Dude, the pedal was rusted, so I'm like on the road again, working on it. But yeah, I ended up getting a Rabbit truck, and that's one of many Rabbits Mark 1s that I've owned, and trucks and Scirocco's and everything.
That's crazy, dude. What was the longest amount of time since you spotted one on the street, wrote down the information, and then went back and the car was still there?
Well, there's one in my neighborhood, and I'm not telling you where I live. So I drive by.
What kind of car is it?
Well, actually, it's not a water cooled. It's a '67 Bug.
Okay.
And it's got a big roof rack on it, OEM roof rack. This lady has put. I've lived in my house for 7 years, and she's put 7 car covers over the top of it.
Oh.
They
just
all
get
torn
up and she has to replace.
There's another one on top. So I am so eyeballing that car. That's going to be my first air-cooled car, I think.
Dude, that's awesome. That's great, man.
Yeah, it's good times.
As you ran through those water cools, then you got way more experienced with a lot of the DIY stuff that you were doing, right? On how to fix things, and did that So how did you transition from that as being a hobby and you like tinkering and messing around with the Volkswagens to starting a business? So Double J, I think if I did my research right, you started that in 2001, correct?
Yeah.
So that was like, we're talking 1990 when you're in high school messing with Mark 1s. 11 years later, you've got your own Audi Volkswagen shop. So how did you go from kind of messing around tinkering like we all do to being like, hey, you know what? I'm going to make this a business. This is going to be kind of how I support myself.
Well, I can explain. So at the time of the year 2000, I was working at a place called Cascade Performance Group.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that place was going to be, it was literally going to be the next big thing of Volkswagen Audi performance rally, all-encompassing motorsport of Volkswagen and Audi, and mostly and European cars. I was working at that place. I was a technician. So I was working on mostly hot rod Volkswagens, not necessarily client like service work, but like cars that were owned by people that, like for instance, it's still around to this day. It's the Schnell Motor Technic Group A Golf Rally. It is the sickest rally car I've ever seen with my own two eyes. It's still here in Oregon, and it's supercharged with a, it's not a G60, it's a G60 engine. However, the supercharger is, I want to say it's like the traditional Roots, like you'd see on top of like a small block Chevy 350 on an 8-valve in a rally car. It was very cool. Another car I was working on at that location was an S4. You know what an S4 is?
Oh,
So I was working on one of those. Another car I had a chance to work on was at that location was a Mercedes Cosworth 2.3 190. Yeah, and we had put a motor out of the brand new compressor, whatever Mercedes. We put one of those switchable supercharger engines into this old car.
Was that a V8?
It was running.
Those are V8s.
No, it's a 4-cylinder.
4-cylinder.
And
okay.
it's like their little roadster convertible thing that Mercedes made, and it has a supercharger on it. They call it compressor. On the back it says compressor. And so we were doing stuff there, and my boss at the time, his good friend was very, very good and well known with stage rally. And he ran a Mark II 16-valve GTI in stage rally. Sick. And we were helping do like service and maintenance upkeep on it. And coincidentally, his I'll probably get beat up later for not telling it the way it really is, but I'll try to go off memory. So that client of ours, his father or father-in-law or something was an engineer at Volkswagen Motorsport.
Oh, wow. And
And so my boss had his foot in the door there at Volkswagen Motorsport. So we were getting like Pikes Peak G60 superchargers.
Sick,
Like,
dude.
like these were run-on cars, but they were given or sold to my boss, and we were putting this shit on the street on rabbits and stuff. Another item that was that later turned into a giant internet phenomenon was the in the raw, the Volkswagen. Well, it's a replica, but it's the Volkswagen Motorsport A59 body kit, and so these panels came to my shop, or to where I was working. My boss got them, and I remember seeing all of that stuff. Holding up the quarter panels, the dashboard, the wing, the hood, all that stuff. And so one day he walks in, he goes, "Hey, we're closing shop." And I looked at my buddy. I'm like, "Hey, do you think we should just start our own thing now? I mean, people are kind of we already know everybody in Portland, like on the street side of things, and so you think we can turn this into a business? And he and I both said, let's pull the trigger. So we sat down and came up with the idea of Double J Motorwerks.
Dude, that is awesome. So you transitioned from a tech, got all that experience. You and your buddy just took all of that and rolled that into a business for yourselves, and did. Yeah. If your old boss kind of closed shop, did you take a lot of that clientele with you then? Did you carry a lot of those customers over to Double J in the early days?
Well, there were a couple, but most everybody, I guess, if you could say, everybody was pretty well sorted when he closed the doors. And so, like, of course, the motorsport connection went away. The rally cars went away. So, not a lot of them followed. I mean, we might have gotten 2 or 3 clients that, had small projects that we ended up doing. So, like, my first 1.8T swap was in 2001. It was an AEB swap into a Mark II GTI.
Nice.
And it was a underhood, flat-mounted hood intercooler, and then we put a 300 ZX Nissan hood scoop on it.
Sick.
To help, do stuff there.
Cool. That'd be sick.
But yeah.
Dude, that's nuts. So the A59 body kit, did that end up on a car? Because I remember, like, that's just such a legendary Volkswagen, right? That Mark III.
Yeah, it's that body kit did end up on a car, yes.
Dude, was it NGP that was, like, importing them or remaking them? Because I remember someone was remaking those body kits for a while. Am I remembering this right, or?
Yeah, so the story goes is that before the A59 project was canceled, a gentleman, I forget the name of him, but he ended up buying a copy of those and then making new molds. Okay, and out of those new molds from the actual Volkswagen Motorsport body kit, he made molds, and these plugs were from that.
Dude, that's epic.
So
we'll get on to the more A59 chat here.
Okay.
Second,
I mean, we're missing a whole bunch in between. If you want to go to the A59, we can go there, but there's a whole bunch in between. But we can talk about it and we can go back. We can.
Yeah, dude, we'll jump around. I'm still trying to. I'm trying to get some deets on the early days of the business, because I mean, that's pretty substantial. You guys have been around for more than a couple decades now, and for
it's 20 years this year.
So 20 years, yeah. So that's for an auto shop. That's pretty substantial. Yeah, that's a big deal.
I mean, like, looking back, I've seen a lot of shops come and go, but the big heavy hitters have always stayed around. Clearly, New Speed, Autotech, Tectonics, and more since then, clearly. But like Bellevue Motorsports, you remember those guys?
I think so.
You would send them your rabbit intake manifold, and they would port it out, and they would polish it, and then send it back to you. I mean, a lot of the old businesses that were around, they did, they kind of went away. But I felt fortunate because I felt like I had a real good, healthy location of clientele that were willing to, and like I said, people around here still love their Mark 1s and Mark 2s. They drive them. And so what became an issue is that, new cars are coming out, and so it's more difficult to work on the new cars because it's just strange, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the Mark 3s were going to the dealer, and some Mark 2s were too as well, but as soon as word got on the street that somebody knows how to work on and tune CIS, I mean, I was just inundated with Mark 1s, Mark 2s, and anything that had CIS. And I love CIS. It's easy. It's very easy, and it's simple, and it actually, you can make power. And so word got on the street that I was, 16-valve master. I just knew how to work on them, and it was like, you take a fucking shitty Mark II that has vacuum leaks, and you fix the vacuum leaks, and I'm a master. Well, not quite, but, it was everything in between. So, yeah, I fixed a lot of cars that a lot of people just didn't know how to fix because they just weren't aware of it, how to really work on the system.
Yeah.
So, But, there were a lot of cars that came in that gave us a chance, a little old shop like Double J Motorwerks, like a lot of Eurotuner cars. It was a great, Battleship Gray or Aviator Gray Mark III that was in Eurotuner. It had DTM cup mirrors. It had, it was a 5-lug re-drilled hubs on 4-lug spindles.
I think I remember this car.
It had a turbo on it, and it was the old ATP turbo kit. And I worked on that car, of course. I don't remember what I did, but I worked on it. Like working on stuff like what it was the Mark IV look Mark III headlights. Oh my God! Everybody had to have that, right? And,
I remember that.
And it was the tough part is that all of those headlights were made for European core supports. So it was like the car would come in and its headlight dangling out, hitting the ground, and other one's looking for for stars. And so I just learned to like make a shizzle dizzle or a stinking flinker in the corners to hold the headlights up, and it was like, yeah, and that was in my early fabrication days, right,
That's awesome.
But yeah, 1.8T swap rabbit pickup truck on standalone.
Nice.
I chose to do that in 2003 because it was hard. It was hard. It was hard to make something that was so new, work in an older car, and nobody knew what's a mass airflow sensor, like, where's all the fuel lines, and so it was difficult, and so I took that job on and finished that. Dynoed 350 at the wheels. Whoopee, it's not very much, but dude, 350 horsepower, dude, that is so fun in a Mark 1.
Oh yeah, dude.
It just shreds the tires any gear,
Yeah.
And you're changing lanes, and I didn't mean to do that,
Can you remember what your first customer was at DJM? And what was the job? What was the work order?
So that car occasionally comes in. It's on my Instagram. It's labeled as customer number 1, and it's a turquoise green '88 Jetta GLI with a Mateague Porsche RS fiberglass front bumper, M3 side skirts. It has the Cam-I center armrest that lifts up. It has on the dashboard where you have the 3 dummies underneath your hazard and your fog lights and your brake light. It had the big GLI panel. It's still there. It's got the 8K tack. It has an MSS valve cover, which was like an old tuner from like the late 80s from back east. Old school ABD sway bars and strut tower bars. And
dude, I just found a picture of it. Sick. It's got like DTM cup mirrors, RS front bumper, the hood scoop. Oh, dude, it's so retro.
So that was customer number 1, dude, and he's still that car is still owned by him, and he still occasionally will bring it in.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, he has the DTM, the dual DTM rear exhaust tip. The double cow hoof that points up. So it's got the gray the black and gray Recaros. What were they? I forget what they were called. But they were the black and gray ones before the all gray ones came out.
Dude, that's awesome, man. That's so crazy.
Another one of the awesome cars that I had a chance to work on at Double J was it was a really, really cherry 92 16-valve GTI black, and it had a full, straight-up OEM-looking VR6 swap. And I asked the guy, I'm like, who did your swap? It's like really, really, really nice. And he said it's Sean Veneer. Sean Veneer was one of the main guys that worked at what was it in the Canadian place that had all of the super amazing
HPA?
Not HPA. I don't want to say HPA, but Denon parts. Ron's parts or Denon parts. Okay. And so Sean Veneer had built the car, and this new guy had owned it for a little while, and he had a subframe bolt in the bottom on the back that goes through the rear control arm bushing. Well, that bolt falls out. And so he asked me to see what it would take to fix it. And I'm like, well, dude, honestly, I'm going to have to pull the carpet up, cut a hole in the floor, a window, and cut out and re-weld a new captured nut. That's the only way to fix this thing. The only way. And he's like, really, man, this car is really nice. And I'm like, you won't even know I was in there. And he goes, oh, come on, man, really? And I'm like, I promise. And he goes, dude, this car is very special. And I said, well, how is it special? I mean, I know it's a special car. It's a VR swap. And it's really, really well done. He said, this is the car that they used in the game Forza. And I'm like, well, what do you mean the game Forza? And I'm not really a gamer. And he says, well, in the game Forza, kind of like Gran Turismo. I'm like, oh, I know that game. Yeah. And he says, in the game Forza, you could go and choose a Mark II GTI, and then you could put a VR6 swap into it. That is the car they used for all the digital rendering and whatnot. So it had all the green balls all over it and shit. And so that was one of those cars that I got to work on. That What? I mean, whatever, right? I mean, it's
That's
cool.
Awesome, dude.
It's pretty cool, but like another car was that I had a chance to work on. Guy just bought it, drove it from back east. It's a Volkswagen Cub van.
Yes.
You know what a Cub van is?
Oh, Drummond, I want one so bad.
Car. It was these were prototype U.S. mail-carrying vehicles, okay? And Volkswagen, under the name of Cub, was going to, here, try these cars, see what you think of them. And so I think there's 800 of them. Dude. And went through testing. There might even not be that many. And this guy shows up and asks me if I know anything about them. I'm like, of course I do. It's a rabbit in the front and a dasher in the back. And so I worked on that thing a little bit, and it was a very neat rig. And of course, you know, hey, you want to sell it to me? He's like, I just bought it. I think he said he paid $6,000 for it.
Oh, dude.
That's awesome. That's a lot of money for a 1980, you know, something
mail
van.
Truck. Yeah.
Mail truck.
They're even
and the cool thing is that it's
they're
all
even
aluminum,
they're right-hand
cool.
drive too. Yeah. So Greg Zorn from CKW, he has an awesome one. He built one, and then Johnny Cook, who owns Volkscrack Clothing, he just built one. And so, you know, I kind of got turned on to them by those guys, and I've been looking at them and like they're impossible to find. Like
they really are. They really are hard to find.
They're so awesome, though.
But yeah.
Did the guy with the Mark II, did you end up cutting a hole in his floor and fixing it?
I totally did. I freaking buzzed a hole, and then I folded it open, and then I got down in there, and I pulled all that old crappy shit out, and then I built up like 3 stainless steel nuts, and I stacked them all up, TIG welded them all in, and then used a MIG welder to weld them to the floor, and then that way, whenever I was done, obviously the subframe goes through the control arm into the body, and then I close the door and tack weld it, spray paint it, put the carpet back up. You never could tell. You never could tell I was there. And so he was very happy and very grateful, and I never saw that car again.
Dude, that is
awesome.
What
never
is
heard from it again, but it's out there.
I was creeping through your Instagram, and I keep seeing this green wide-body Mark I that I'm absolutely in love with. What's the story with that? Is that your car?
I wish. So I build a lot of cars for people. And so this is one of the cars that I had built for a client. The car is an original 0 street miles Club Rabbit race car.
What?
So this car was originally bought. It's a and it was originally bought to be turned into a Club Rabbit race car. Dude. So this car raced for many years here in town and the circuit on the West Coast, and then it was originally white. Okay, and then I had found out about the car at the old location of Double J back in about 2007. The guy comes in, he goes, I need a gas cap, and I can't find one. Nobody can find a gas cap for this Rabbit. No one. I'm like, dude, let me go out and look. And so, it's in his trailer, and I'm like, whoa, holy crap, what the hell? Right, wide body, holy shit, whoa. And lo and behold, I ordered the wrong cap. And after seeing the car in person, it is a carbureted swallowtail gas cap. It is very difficult to find. So I ended up finding one, and we all hit it off. I mean, he was looking for someone to work on his Rabbit. It was carbureted. And I worked on that thing for a while, and he came to me one day and he goes, Joey, I need to go faster. Can you make my car go faster? And I said, of course. I said, are you going to be like any like particular, prepared group? Are there rules and regulations do you have to follow? And he goes, no, I just want to have fun. I want to do hill climb with the car. I might do an occasional track day, but it's going to be a hill climb, and it's got to be under 2 liters. And I said, okay, no problem. So I started getting the gears turning and remembering all the things that I learned and stuff. And I knew that it's going to be living life at full throttle. And so I knew I wanted to have piston cooling. So I chose to use the 2-liter 16-valve block that had piston squirters. And then I converted it to an 8-valve. And then I converted it to a crossflow. And so it's a 2-liter 16-valve, 8-valve pistons, and a 2-liter crossflow. And then I put the OBX throttle bodies. They are a straight-up knockoff of the real throttle bodies made by TW and Borla. And I said, we can give them a try. So I put those on, and it doesn't want to. It wants to idle like 2,000 RPMs. And there's nothing you could do. So we pulled those off. We ordered TWM Borla, and sure as shit, those things idled perfect. Dyno tuned it, and it's at a conservative horsepower of 150 horsepower and 150 foot-pounds. So clearly it can make more, but it was, going from 78 to 150 at the wheels, that was a big change. So we did that for him.
This thing probably rips. It probably sounds
It is incredibly fun to drive up a hill as fast as you can.
What's up with that wide body? Is that an actual Volkswagen Motorsport or something wide body? Like, I've never seen.
No.
It's like rounded off. It's.
Yeah, it's they're basically arches, okay, and a guy. There is a person in the Pacific Northwest that actually made those, and he made several sets. And as a matter of fact, David Aronson has, I think, 2 sets, and I think Jake Tabor has a set. And they're all on Mark 1s. Like David Aronson has one on a Rabbit, and he also has one on a Jetta Coupe with a rear engine 3-liter supercharged Honda in a Mark 1 Jetta. It's absolutely disgusting.
What?
His Instagram is Volkswagen.
I'm going to check this dude out.
His Instagram is Volkswagen, but super nice guy. And then Jake Tabor has him on his Rabbit, and he actually did club racing, and they're still on his Rabbit to this day. But yes, those are a real thing from the Pacific Northwest.
Dude.
And supposedly the molds are floating around. So hopefully somebody gobbles up the molds and makes more.
Yeah, that's a awesome looking flare, wide body, whatever you want to call it.
You can definitely put a wide offset tire on there.
Dude.
The wheel and tire.
Super aggressive looking. Man, that thing's so sick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Honestly, I feel incredibly fortunate, you guys. I feel so incredibly fortunate to not knowing how to work on this stuff. Anybody can do that shit. It's having the opportunity. like having the opportunity to work on some of these cool cars. I don't take that for granted at all. And it's so awesome. It's so humbling. And, I wish everybody could have a chance to see all of these cars, because it's a shame that we all, depending on where you live in the world, you only get to see them online, right? And so there's a lot of really cool cars in the Pacific Northwest.
Dude, there is. There's so many cool cars. That's why I'm so excited for the upcoming Pacific Waterlands event.
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty epic this year. I'm super, super excited. Hopefully half these cars make it out there that we're talking about. Is that Green Rabbit going to be there?
The Green Rabbit, I'm not sure. He has, the gentleman, he's been actively trying to sell it.
Ooh.
So I'm not sure. I haven't chatted with him in a month, so he may have already sold it.
Wow.
But I have been rubbing my nickels together and collecting bottles and cans to try to buy it because I would love to own it. But you have to understand, I can't own the Rabbit. I can't own the A59. I can't own the Forza car. I don't have that big a wallet. I don't. So I have to.
You get to work on them and test drive them.
I have to keep stacking up, and then when a good one comes along, I'm ready to pounce. So hopefully that's the A59.
Dude, let's talk about that car. So.
Let's talk.
I think I remember this car, dude. So, this A59, what's the history of this car?
So the history that I can tell you about it is that the body kit was purchased from my boss and sold to I don't know if it was actually Dan Nowick, the president of FK North America, or if it was Chris, his employee, okay? Because the car was actually Chris Lee's car, and the body parts went on to Chris Lee's car, but I think Dan Nowick and Chris Lee, they may have had some kind of an arrangement to where it was going to be like the staple car to show off FK products in North America, so like a project car.
It had a lot of FK parts on it, the headlights.
It still does. Yes.
A lot of the stuff. That's where I remember this car from.
Yeah, and so the body panels came into North America. I was playing with them off the car, on the shelf, whatever. Dan Nowick shows up, takes the body panels back up to Vancouver, BC, at his location at FK North America, and that was the last I heard of him. And then we get a phone call saying, hey, FK is going to be doing a show in Vancouver, BC, and they want to debut the car. Do you guys want to come up? And we're like, heck yeah. And so we drove up, and we get there, and there it is, the A59. It's all finished. Dude. It's in the FK booth. They got these hot chicks swarming around it, so you can take pictures with them. It was awesome. Yeah, I got pictures. And it was awesome, one of the cars, hey, if you're an old school dubber, tell me if you remember this car. This car was parked in the booth next to it, but it was a Mark II Corrado body kit. It was a Mark II Golf with a full Corrado body kit. Steel panels, rear bumper, the front bumper, the headlights. And this car made its rounds all through the magazines, and that was one of the cars I remember seeing, because it was like, oh my god, that car's here, whoa, holy crap, right? And so, but yes, the A59, back to the A59, that's when it debuted, and then a short while after that, the FK ended up selling it, or Chris Lee selling the car to the owner of NGP Racing. Yes, and now NGP Racing took possession of the car, and there are documented pictures of the car on a flatbed tow truck leaving Canada, driving across the friggin' continent, and all dusted and ratted out, with no cover. And it gets to FK, and it gets to NGP Racing, and Shaker Dave. Dave was the owner, one of the owners, and so Dave ended up getting the car and putting a turbo kit on it. And his employee Ronnie was the one. It was his right-hand man, and he made a turbo kit for the VR6 that was in it, because it was originally a driver's edition Jazz Blue GTI in Canada. And so it had a turbo kit on it. I saw that at Waterfest 2003, and then I went back to Waterfest in 2005, and the car was still there, had a turbo kit. And a couple years go by, and then NGP is going to have a drawing. Holy crap, they're going to get rid of the Mark II Rally Golf Turbo VR6, and they're going to get rid of the A59. And all you had to do was spend $100 on a raffle ticket, and your name was entered into winning this car.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
So both cars ended up being won and going away. The A59 was gone, and so was, and quite frankly, I think, I want to say somebody from C2 ended up getting the Mark II rally car, but the A59 disappeared. And so more time goes by, and the car is being advertised for sale on Vortex in Maryland, which is where NGP Racing is located. And so so the car is advertised and it's sold, and I don't know. And so more time goes by, and then dude, one day I get a phone call. Hey, I've got a car, and it's having a real tough time getting through DEQ. It's got a chip, and
It's got
and
a
I'm like,
chip.
well, it's got a chip, yeah. And I'm like, well, what can you tell me about this car? And he goes, well, it's kind of a special car. I'm like, okay, well, tell me what kind of a car you got. And he's like, well, it's a wide body blue Mark III. And I'm like, stop right there. Stop right there. I said, are you talking about the NGP Blue A59? He goes, yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. Hold on a second. You are in Portland? And he goes, yeah. And I said, you may bring that car down here right now. So here comes the client. He comes down. And I'm like, oh my God, blast from the past. Like, here it is in the flesh. Again, I've gone full circle.
Yeah.
To see these parts, and then debut, and then go to Jersey, and and see the car in Jersey, and then in Portland, right in my backyard.
Dude, that's nuts.
So yeah, we ended up getting the car to pass DEQ, shiny green numbers and letters, and he asked me if I was willing to continue to keep working on it, and yes, of course, I was able to keep working on it. I did a short runner intake, kind of a revamp. He wanted to kind of do some things that he wanted to do to it that he liked, and so we got rid of the polished intake and the big, long pipes that go around and back up to the throttle body. So we ended up going with a shimmer intake manifold, and then all the custom boost tubes I all remade, and I powder coated them satin black. And I put in 288 cams. Now, at the time, people were saying, oh, 288 cams, dude, it doesn't even idle on an NA car. And I'm like, okay, don't idle then, right? And so we put these cams in the A59 in a turbo car, and everybody's like, oh, you can't put those big cams in a turbo car. It's too much overlap. Then rev it higher. So yeah, those cams are still in there to this day. Dude. It has the nastiest idle that you have ever heard from a 12 valve, and it's like almost wants to die, and it sounds so nasty, and I love it. But anyhow, and then
how long?
Some more.
How long was it from, or like when did that person in Portland call you and be like, hey, I got this car? How long ago was that from today?
That was probably about 2012.
Oh, okay. Dang.
Yeah. And that was a long time ago. I mean, even from the point of when I heard the car sold in Vortex days in 2008, or something, right? When they had the big drawing. And so
I remember this car so much.
Maybe
I think
even earlier than 2008.
This car used to be in like the FK ads in like Eurotuner and all the magazines, right? Ah, dude.
Yep.
That's so insane, dude. And you've been working on it ever since 2012.
Yeah, just making it past DEQ, or for instance, doing some of those revamps, some boost tubes. But he came to me one day and he says,
"Yeah, I was gonna say the car was front wheel drive though. That was the I remember people would talk about it and be like, oh, it's not a real 85, no, it's front wheel drive. That was like the whole thing people would say. But hasn't that changed recently?"
It actually has changed, as a matter of fact. Now it is, the coin phrase is synchro for motion.
Motion.
So it's synchro by means of, that's what the Mark III and the Passat and the Mark IIs came with, was a synchro running gear, but it's been converted to haldex. So what we did is we made the car all-wheel drive by using synchro parts, and then convert it to a better, more powerful handling haldex system.
Oh my God, dude. That was an undertaking.
I would definitely say it was an undertaking. At first, I gotta say, dude, like I was fantasizing and researching all of how to do this forever, because that was my dream, was to, you know, build an all-wheel drive Volkswagen, right? We never got them, right? So all of the years I've been watching and looking and reading and talking and asking questions, and I felt like I was gonna feel pretty comfortable and take this on. Dude. But yet it still felt really hard, because there were some things that I couldn't really pinpoint how I was gonna make those work. Mm-hmm. You know, and so if you understand how haldex works, it's CAN bus. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to make the haldex work OEM, and I'm all about OEM, I don't want to do anything to this car, the A59, that is kind of really left field. I mean, VR6 turbo, sure, that's an easy that's a giveaway. You got that. But I didn't want to have like an all-wheel drive on a switch. You know, I didn't want to have like a continuous all-wheel drive, you know, and cheat. I wanted it to act like a real R32. Yes. And so what I did is I knew that I had to get CAN bus signals to the haldex, but yet I have a 12-valve Mark III VR6, and which had ABS. Mm-hmm. Key. Start with an ABS car. Okay. And come to find out that I wanted to. There's also another 12-valve VR6 that's newer. It's on a Mark IV Jetta GTI or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And that has a wideband oxygen sensor and CAN bus and drive-by-wire. And so I was like, well, I want to integrate that engine management system onto this engine. And then I found out that that's really not hard to do. But I didn't want to do like a custom harness. I didn't want to do any of that. So I took the stock harness out of the car, and I gave it to David Wright at TDC Tuning or TDC Shop. And I told him all what I wanted. I said, I want OEM harness. I only want you to give me enough for a gas pedal and all the other crap that I need to make this drive-by-wire. And he goes, oh, this is going to be great. So, I mean, even cruise control, pedal switches, you know, clutch pedal, brake pedal, gas pedal, I want all of it, you know? Dude. And so I got the harness back from him. It went right back into the same location. I just now have a drive-by-wire throttle body, and I'll share something with everybody.
There we go.
You cannot, never, ever use a Mark III VR6 coil pack on a 12-valve Mark IV. Never. It will pop and bang, and you'll be like, I don't get it. It's all I did was change the square plug to a D plug. It should still work. It should don't work. Don't try it. Just get a Mark IV coil. Put it in fucking burnouts. So we learned. I mean, like I said, a lot of this shit, dude. Yeah, a hot tip. But like I said, I learned the hard way, and so I learned by trial and error. David and I both didn't know that was actually like. Of course, a 12-valve Mark IV, 12-valve Mark III, it's the same. It's not. So we figured that out. We got the motor running, but I needed to get haldex signals, or CAN bus signals to the haldex. And so I got to looking at the ABS control module that's on this Mark III, and I'm like, I pull the connector off, like, it's got 25 pins. And I'm looking, I'm like, well, shit. An early Beetle. An early Volkswagen new Beetle, the kind that has like an ASR button on it or an EDL button. And I found that, and I'm like, all I got to do is move a couple of wires on the connector, and now I have a Mark IV ABS system bolt in, plug and play, move a couple of wires, and then now I was able to grab CAN bus signals. So now I can talk to the engine and the ABS and the haldex, and boom, it all works. However, I wanted to be able to do burnouts, right? And so when you do a burnout, you got to turn that shit off. And so I went and a previous interview of yours, Brian Turner. I told him my idea. I said, hey, dude. Right, hey, what's up, Brian? And so I told him my idea, and I'm like, I need a button, but the button doesn't exist. And I said, but if I use a rear defrost button, you know, click, click, with a light and a harness on the back, and I pull the cap off the button, And if I give you those dimensions, can you make it say anything on the front? He goes, yeah, whatever you want. Boom, ASR. So I printed that shit on my 3D printer. I must have made 50 of them, okay? And I wanted my button to be illuminated the same Volkswagen color. So I'm playing around with tint and white color and da-da-da-da-da. And like out of like 50 some odd attempts, I came up with an ASR button to put onto a rear defrost switch that now connects to the ABS control module that allows us to do burnouts on this 4-motion haldex swapped, Synchro A59.
That is so epic.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many little tidbits that go in the way.
God, dude.
Like no longer available is wheel speed sensors for Synchro. So you got to make something, right? So I'm like, well, let's look at the front wheel speed sensors on a Mark IV. They kind of come out and they got a little hook on the end.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, okay, it plugs in. It looks like it's going to read the tone wheel, but it just won't go in far enough. So I just tune that shit up with a whiz wheel and plug it in. I spin a wheel. I can see it on VACCOM. Done. Mark IV AB front wheel speed sensors on a Mark III rear synchro system. Using all Mark IV ABS and whatnot. So I figured that out.
That's insane. When you're putting all this together, like grabbing the parts that you need for the synchro, grabbing the parts that you need from the haldex, where are you pulling these parts from? Are you grabbing junkyard parts? Are you like just looking for parts online? Are you buying full donor cars to use? Like, how are you sourcing all the stuff?
I collect parts over the years. So
a lot of it you just had lying around?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff I had laying around.
Nice.
Honest. I mean, some of the shit, I mean, like the plates that you mount to the body on where the rear beam goes on a Mark II and a Mark III, well, those plates are like $500. They're crazy dollars. And everything's, they got to come from Europe. They're in Europe. They're in Europe. Well, dude, if you want it bad enough, you got to research it. And when you find the end of the internet 10 times over, this shit's in the backyard, Canada. It's right here in the U.S. Quantum Synchro Wagon. Not a problem. You get one of that shit up. So, yeah, finding these parts, stashing them in Joey's little box, that I have upstairs. I got lots of parts upstairs that are from whatever. Like, I got a back end of a of a Mark IVR. Nice. If anybody wants to do a 4-motion swap in their Mark IV that's front-wheel drive, call me. Call this right here.
I want to do a 4-motion swap on a Eurovan.
That's actually not hard. They all pretty much bolt in. And all the parts are in California. And if you want to make it a 5-cylinder TDI, no problem.
That's exactly what I want, dude. I want a 5-cylinder TDI 4-motion Eurovan.
And you want a manual, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
What is it
well, then, they did VR6s, right? And so you can maybe find a bell housing, and then we can do a 3.6.
Dude.
Would you like a 3.6 or a 3.2 or a 3.0 or or whatever, right?
This bill could get crazy.
So, like I said, if you know the parts exist, you can find them, and that's where I found that the hunt is the fun part too.
Dude, that is insane. And so, David, he's got the all-wheel drive Mark II VR Turbo. Does he work?
Yep.
Does he work at Double J?
Yeah, he is my right-hand man. He has been with Double J Motorwerks for 11 years, and so he is my service writer. Honestly, dude, he manages this whole place. I just take orders. So
shout out, David.
And I love it, and I love that guy. And yes, he owns that car too. He owns a Mark II GTI VR6 Turbo Synchro 4-motion swap that he did himself.
Oh, so I was gonna ask, is the all-wheel drive system he has in his Mark II, is that like kind of the same one that's in the A59? A little different.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit different. So I was able to make the A59 using synchro parts from a Passat, okay? A Canadian Passat, 5-lug wide suspension, plus suspension, okay? And so David, finding those rear beams is tough. And so we found out that the Quantum Synchro wagon actually utilizes the same parts, but almost. The rear beam has a hump that goes a little bit higher than the Golf. And so David used the Quantum Synchro rear beam, control arms, disc brakes, all of that stuff to mount to his car. Just bolted in. It bolted in.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong. The spare tire well gets in the way. The gas tank gets in the way. You have to do a little bit of tunnel, zhuzhing and whatnot. But I mean, for the most part, and so it bolts in, and then you have to knock holes and make clearance parts. He's using an R32 or an Audi TT driveline.
Okay.
And he made his own 4-motion brackets to the synchro beam because they don't exist. They make 4-motion parts to bolt to a synchro Mark II beam, but David's using a quantum synchro beam, so those don't work. So he made all of his own stuff. TIG welded it, chromoly. Yeah, he did it all.
Sick. Dude, his build is legendary. I've been wanting to talk to him and get him on the podcast too, just to talk about that build. I mean, that's such an epic Mark II.
I think he's excited to come and chat with you in person.
Sheesh!
And so,
dude,
yeah, right? I mean,
epic.
Yeah, he would love that. So,
David.
You guys are going to have to work something out. He wants to do an in-person interview, and I would like to as well. Come back and do another one,
dude.
or follow up or whatever. But yeah, he's very, very much interested in doing that in person.
I'm going to bring all my podcast shit and just come to you guys, and we'll set up in your shop.
Yeah. Sure.
Dude,
no
so
problem. I mean, all my parts are up here, and dude, I mean, it's raw, dude. I got stuff going on.
Maybe I'll drive my Eurovan out and just leave it there.
No. Nope. Hold on, wait. Your Eurovan runs?
Yeah, dude.
I'm kidding. No, I like Eurovans. They're great vehicles. You have the camper, the multivan.
It's a tin top, 2.5 manual.
93.
93. Yep. I love that thing.
Nice.
Yeah, but I want to do something cool to it, dude. Like do something gnarly to it, because nobody's really doing cool stuff to those.
Well, hold on a second. You do realize another 5-cylinder would go right into there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Starts with an R, ends with an S3.
I just don't know if I have the deep pockets required for one of those builds.
Yeah, so you know what? Hey, just keep what you got alive.
You know what I want?
What you got alive.
Yeah, dude. Actually, I want to do a TDI swap. I want it to be a diesel. I want it to be all-wheel drive, so I can kind of tow stuff with it. Like to tow a Mark I behind it would be my goal. But I would also want it on air ride, and I'd want it to lay out. So
yeah.
That's my dream Eurovan build.
Fuck yeah! Who wouldn't want that? I mean, that would be a very awesome build.
Exactly.
That would be a very awesome build. Yes.
Exactly, dude. That's what I'm thinking. But that's
make it happen.
I'm gonna try.
Make it happen.
I'm gonna try. We'll see what happens. That's like one of the cars.
What else do you want to talk about?
Let's talk about Pacific Waterland, the car show. I want to know the history of it. It's such an epic event. So, created the shop. You started with Volkswagens. You became a technician. You started your own shop. You've been doing this for 2 decades now. How did the car show get started? How did you guys decide that you wanted to throw an event?
Yeah. So it all started in 2003. Double J, myself, and my other partner that I had at the time were very good friends with everybody at Tectonics Tuning. And if you remember, in 2003, European Car Magazine, they had what was called the 180 Shootout. Okay? And so what it was going to happen the days leading up to Waterfest, okay? And Tectonics was a sponsor of the 180 Challenge. Okay. And so they asked if we wanted to go and just be with them at the racetrack and go and check out the 180s.
Sick.
So we go there and we're at the track and I'm seeing New Speed with their BTCAA, A4 180 full-on road racing car with all the stickers removed, and it's race car, dude. Other guys that were putting 180s in Mark IIs. Other guys were putting them in. Another guy put them into put a 180 into a 84 Rabbit GTI. Sick. And that guy ended up winning. Anyway, that show, Waterfest was amazing. I had never seen. I always saw it in magazines and PVW,
right.
And it's the largest North American gathering of Volkswagens, Audis, and it's like 20,000 people a day. It's crazy,
Yeah.
And it was just so amazing. I was like, I need this. This is too far to go. I need this closer. And so the bug was kind of set then, and. We had all of our shows locally. We had Waterworks, and then we had, what was the other one? Waterwagens. Waterwagens, okay? And those were like, that was the end-all, be-all in the Pacific Northwest, right? And we were going to those shows. We'd take our cars and show them off and whatnot. And it was like, it's awesome. It's really awesome, but it is no comparison, right, to that East Coast Waterfest show. So more time goes by, and we have another opportunity to go back to Waterfest. Sick. And it was just for fun. No 180 challenge, no tectonics. It was just for fun. And go back and again, it was like, there's the 859, there is the guy that just got started. It was, some of you heard of him. It was, it's called Mark I Auto House, and it was just, they were selling shit out of the back of a truck, sick. And I mean, like, lots of cars. And it was just, I was like, I saw, like, I need to make this happen. So I shared my passion with my wife. And I said, I need to make this happen. And she's like, well, then let's do it. And we sat down. We kind of started hashing out ideas. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I don't know a car show, right? And so we, shot from the hip. And it was a big success.
Nice.
And people were so thankful. Thank you for having the show here. Yeah. We're tired of going 3 hours north. Like, now everybody's going to come down to here to ours. And it was like, it was a great feeling. It was like, wow, I mean, I'm starting a thing, right? Me and my wife were starting a thing. And awesome, the second year goes on, and it was like more people are knowing about this, and the caliber of cars are kind of starting to show. And, and then lo and behold, Waterwagens quit. And it was like, that was the big one. Now it was Waterworks and Pacific Waterland. And on the second year of Pacific Waterland, we got so big that we had to move. We had to change the location.
Wow,
like
second year.
On the third year, we were now at Woodburn Drag Strip. That was 2008 was the first year at Woodburn, and just more and more. It's got bigger and bigger every year. We're starting to get name brand sponsors. We got people coming out from from California now, and Vancouver, BC, and Idaho, and Central Oregon, and further, right? And
awesome.
It just turned into a thing, and we had to keep it going. Yeah. We're like, the people count on us, but it got to the point where okay, it's got to be more than just show cars, right? So we had the drag racing, at Woodburn, and we're like, we need more things for people to do to just keep them entertained.
Yeah.
And so that's where the Vanagon Cram came in.
That's fun.
And
so
the Vanagon Cram is a staple of the show. And ask questions about it.
Dude, that's a cool, like, sitting there and watching that, see how many people you can stuff in a van again. I also like the motor blow. Like
the engine blow,
The engine blow. You kind of bet on when it's going to go. I think the last, in 2019, did that one go for over a minute? I'm trying to remember the last one I went to, but I remember it going for quite some time.
Yeah, it was way more than a minute. Yeah, I get
Was
you.
it?
Sheesh. I mean, it went for like, I think 23 minutes.
I
And
remember it
was
being
stupid.
forever.
It was so dumb. Now you have to understand that every year I forget to bring the brick to put on the gas pedal, okay? And so I'm inside with my foot on the pedal, and I'm manhandling this sucker. And you know, the last time we did it, I did not know this, but the gas tank was full of gas. and you know, I got paramedics off to the side of me, and they have fire extinguishers and fire blankets and shit ready to pull me out, and it at a second's notice, right? And this thing's just dancing on like 7,000, and I hooked up nitrous to it, to the air cleaner. This is a dry shot, so I'm like all touching the bed. It's like ying, ying, and it just won't pop. And so this thing's just sitting on the rev limiter, and I'm looking down by the e-brake, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's a flame. And the guy's like, what's up? And I'm like, dude, fire, fire, fire. And he grabs like an aerosol can, and he's all shaking it up. And I'm like, give me that. And I'm like emptying this can all next to it. It's like, fire is coming up alongside me.
Oh, shit.
And, I think I've worn out of all of my 9 lives. So we're not going to do it this year. We're going to take a break from the engine blow.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a favorite of mine. And then which is always followed by the car bash, right? Like we kill the car with axes and and hammers and bats and whatever.
That.
So.
Another thing I love is what is it? It's like the show queen drag. It's like if your car's show queen show off. So if your car's in the show, it's a show car. Yep. You can actually run it down the track, and the fastest car gets a prize, right? So I think that's really exactly cool because that's a cool aspect to see the show cars, and then who's actually gonna like. Hey, these things actually run fast, you know?
Well,
we got a lot of shiny, polished things down there, but...
Yeah, so that's a new thing. One of the new things we're doing is called the drop zone. Have you heard of that?
No.
So the drop zone. So it's a strategy of how low can you make the top of your fender get to the top of your rim without any presets. You're not allowed to look out and see and check. It's literally, it's like go until you think you're there or what the crowd tells you, okay? And so if you go lower, then sorry, you're disqualified. But if you get close, then I start busting out like I'll bust out my highly calibrated. I'm making one right now, as a matter of fact. I'm making a highly calibrated lowered measuring device. It's called a paper taco, okay? If I can slide that paper taco in there, then I got numbers written on here, and it's like a wedge, right? And so David Evers, name drop. David Evers was the winner of the first official drop zone, and so you win a prize. You win a little prize and like a trophy, and
dude, that's rad.
And you get bragging rights, and it's fun.
Dude, that's super fun. My absolute
it's entertainment.
Dude, it keeps everyone busy. I mean, you always the amount of cars. What amazed me is every year I go, the cars that aren't even showing, the cars that show up and park in the side parking next to the strip. There's a Mark II Golf Rally there in 2019, just in the
white one.
The white one, just in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
That's a PVW car. I know the owner, and it's VR6 turbo. And I watched the whole build, and it's like, come on, dude. I'm glad. First of all, honestly, Wolfgang, I'm glad you brought the car so that
Wolfgang.
people can see it. Okay, but enter it in the show. Why not?
Dude,
I mean, it's if it's in the show, it won't get missed. It might possibly get missed if it's in the parking lot.
Dude, that's such a flex. It's such a flex to drive a VR turbo Golf Rally to a show and just park it in the parking lot. Such a flex.
Right? There's another client of ours. He has a Mark II Country, And
Nice.
so
Golf
he
country.
likes to show it off, but he likes to park the car and just get away from it because
Yeah.
Everybody's got questions, and he wants to go and enjoy the show too. So he just parks it and gets out and runs. And
Dude.
so he shows up to the show too.
The golf rally made my whole year in 2019. That's the first one I ever seen in person.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just imagine me. I'm a freaking Volkswagen nerd, right? And I'm driving into your car show, and I'm seeing all the cars, and the cars rolling. I'm like, sick. And then I pull into the parking lot. It's like, sheesh. What?
Oh, dude. Yeah.
I literally
honestly,
shit my pants.
Dude, I still get that way when I see, a really cool Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I'm not jaded by any of this, man, dude. If it's cool, you got my attention. Absolutely. So, and I find the stupidest shit to be cool because I'm different, So,
Dude, awesome,
but yeah, I'm glad he made it out to the show, and it's fun to see those cars. Absolutely, and I'm glad that we have an area that where people feel comfortable bringing them.
Yeah.
Because not many people are just going to drive it as a daily driver or go down and shucks and pick up some oil or whatever.
Yeah.
They want to have an area or a venue to go and show it off, and so I'm glad that he brings it out and that he chooses to bring it to our venues. So thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Thank you guys.
Dude, thank you guys for. Yeah, because I like going there and seeing all those cars. Yeah, a lot of epic builds. It's such a fun show. But I was gonna say my absolute favorite thing is the swap meets, dude. Because like I'm a Mark 1 guy, and so that's like a treasure trove, dude. Just going through all the swap meet vendors and be like, what do you got? I'm looking for this one stupid part. Like, do you have it? No. Okay, next guy. And just seeing all the stuff. But dude, it's like my favorite part.
I so love it when guys will know that like swap meet, and they come in and they just rummage through it. There's a Canadian guy. I want to say his name. It's Michael, but he has the yellow swallowtail rabbit with the 180.
Ooh.
It's like a mustard yellow. And he's a great guy. Him and his friends come down every year, but they go through and they cherry pick the swap meet, and he always shows off what he finds. And it's amazing. It's like, you found that emblem, like that hard to find, emblem in the swap meet. That's so awesome. Yeah, so the swap meets are pretty cool, man.
Yeah, dude, that's
our show at Pacific Waterland.
Yeah, dude, that's my favorite part of the whole thing. I'll spend like a half a day. Literally, I'll go through some of the guys, like booths or whatever you want to call them, like 2 or 3 times. I'll be like, I might have missed something.
You're going to miss something, so you want to make another round. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, the car show, the swap meet at Pacific Waterland has exponentially gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the years.
It's so awesome.
And it's really cool. Like there's this guy, and he does all the shop coats. Like the typical Volkswagen shop coat with patches, and he shows up, and it's like, that's awesome. Like people are starting to see that, like you saw the stuff at air-cooled meets, and it's just showing up to our water-cooled meet, and such. So it's just all kinds of fun stuff: stickers, T-shirts, swap meet stuff. Absolutely, yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
Dude, it's so awesome. It's such a great event. It's so fun, and this year, it's going to be pretty epic, dude. I hear a lot of people talking about it. Like I said, I know people who are building cars specifically for it. I know this guy, Tyson.
It's weird.
Shout out Tyson. He's building this crazy Mark II VR that he's bringing out. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait.
I'm excited to see it.
September 12th.
Hurry
up already, September.
Sunday. Yep. Woodburn, Oregon, Woodburn Drag Strip. Gates open at 8 a.m.
Nice, dude. How stressful is it on you as the promoter each year?
Very.
Very. It's got to be.
I'll be point blank. Okay, here. So. My wife, Carrie, she really is the one that makes this happen. And, I help, and we have people that help too. So thank you, people, for helping.
Yeah, thanks,
But
buddy.
Carrie really is, for lack of a better term, the meat and potatoes of how this show actually gets to happen. She's the one that makes the contacts and gets the sponsors and, organizes all of this stuff so that our helpers have a clear plan of how we want to do things. And so, it's stressful, but we've been doing it for so long. there's kind of things that become automatic, but I don't want to downgrade it. It's still incredibly stressful. The judging side of it has always been very stressful.
Yeah, I bet.
And how you judge, like phone apps or paper apps or peer judging or people judging.
Yeah.
It's always been a thing. But if I can just share one thing with everybody, and this goes for everybody. It's not about winning. It's about showing people what you can do, what you like, and then next of all is making friends, man, because you'll make the best connections at this car show, Pacific Waterland, and they're lifelong friendships, so thank you everybody that participates. You don't have to have a show car. Bring your car out because you enjoy it, and you want people to see what you do, and without having any weird feelings about it. It's just it's just a lot of fun. It's an easygoing car show, man. It's really easygoing. It's mostly a gathering of friends, and show me what you did this year to your car. And if you happen to win a trophy, awesome. If you didn't, thank you for coming. Thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for letting other people see what you did. So.
That's awesome. I don't think I'll come out early. I'll go through the vendor, the swap meet. I'll check out the drag race. And that's another thing, dude. There's some fast fucking front wheel drive Volkswagens that people bring to these things.
Yeah.
I think Scirocco's running like 10s, I think is what there's just like a lot of
it's a sight to behold.
Ridiculous cars.
When you see a Volkswagen go more than 12 seconds. I mean, it's a sight to behold, It's awesome, though, like we got Barrett Art and his Corrado. He's been drag racing forever. He's in the 11s with his all-motor, VR6, 24
That's the red one, right?
That's the red one.
Yeah,
just go and look at the amount of details in chassis fab. Like he went and seam welded everything. And I remember seeing this car before it had a VR in it. But, the car is so light you could push it with your pinky. So just getting it to that point of weight loss diet, it's a feat, Corrados are heavy cars.
Yeah, dude.
And so we got Barrett Art, you got the guys from Canada, the VR6 Mark III, all motor. I'm so bad at remembering. But they are amazing. They're the nicest guys. They come down with their VR6 turbo. Mark III GTI, and blow the windows out of everything, including eardrums and sunglasses, and it's just awesome, and they rattle off like a high, like a high A or a low 9,
Dude,
it's just super awesome to see.
Yeah.
And everything in between, Audis or other water-cooled Volkswagens.
That guy in that coupe Quattro, that thing's freaking a rocket ship, dude. I forgot what he was running. I think it was under 10s.
Well, back in the day, when we were running a 1.8T in that car, we set a couple of world records. It's really nothing to speak of at this point, but at the time of 1.8T madness was a couple of records. So we set the fastest and the quickest 1.8T in a coupe quattro. So I mean, it's it's kind of specialized, but it was like, what was it, 931 at
it's ridiculous,
161 miles an hour.
Insane, dude.
All-wheel drive, manual gearbox, okay, with the turbo. I mean, see my hands, and then I'm gonna go way bigger, like 48 pounds of boost.
Oh, dude, that thing's ridiculous.
But the motors were really stressed out, so he's on to the same car, changed the motor out to a rear-wheel drive LS motor.
Oh shit!
And but he has another car that's 1.8T powered, and it's a Pro Mod. So if you know what a Pro Mod is, it's basically a tube frame funny car, 1.8T powered Audi Coupe Quattro.
That's insane.
And so that one probably isn't going to make it this year. I'm not sure about the other one. It's been a little while since I've chatted with him about that car. But yeah, amazing fast cars. He's got fast cars, dude. He's got fast cars.
It's so entertaining, dude, to watch all that and all the other stuff that's going on. when it comes to, I guess I never paid attention when you guys announce like the show winners for the different classes. Is that done in like kind of a crowd with a microphone, or is it more like low key? Okay.
It's done with a microphone. We honor third, second, and first place. Okay. We're gonna try to do best in show. We're gonna try to do like best engine. Obviously, there's a show queen show off trophy.
Nice.
And such. So yeah, we do MC Mike. Yeah, we just holler out names, and people clap and give thanks, and
She.
Yeah, that's what we do. And then following the car show, because when you get to Pacific Waterland, you go and we offer pictures to be taken. So you pull up in front of this giant banner, and your car is there, and we take a picture. And in the past, we've done like everything from like a mountain background to a vintage gas station to artistic backgrounds, and we make a banner every year. These banners are huge. I have all of them. If anybody wants an old Pacific Waterland banner, hit me up. You know where to find me. But last year, or the year before last, and this year, we're doing a new thing, and essentially, sky's the limit. Green screen. So, we can do GIFs, we can do videos, and so when you come and you get your picture taken, we take a picture, and then you go enjoy the show, we have your information, and then we mail you a picture of your car in front of the banner.
That's sick.
As a nice little, hey, thank you for showing up, thank you for coming to our show, and here's a little picture of your car.
That's awesome. I'm going to do that. I'm going to bring my shitty clapped out brown rabbit. I'm definitely going to want a picture of it.
Don't load it too full with tools and parts. You need to get over the pass.
No. I'm loading that thing up with any. Well, my buddy's coming in a caddy, so I'll just throw everything in his truck.
There you go. Perfect.
I'll make him carry all the shit.
There you go.
I want to sponsor something, dude. Can I sponsor the show?
If you want to sponsor something, we could. Hey, maybe the drop zone.
I want to
do the drop zone.
I want to create something, dude. Maybe do like the most clapped out car of the show.
Oh, bro. I got so many ideas, dude.
I like the shit boxes.
Trophy, but I will give it away because I'm just too used to. Yeah, but yeah, that would be a good trophy.
I like shit boxes, dude. So
I love shit boxes.
Me too.
Shit boxes have the best character.
Yes.
It's the best.
Yes. So maybe we'll talk, dude.
I like the character of don't put a thermal switch in the fan radiator. Just put a house switch on the dashboard. I love that. I love it.
Dude, let's chat. Maybe I can sponsor that somehow.
Who needs shift linkage bushings? Right?
We're going to do a Fuck Yeah Volkswagen shitbox of the show. And I just got to figure out how we could do that.
Yeah, well, the shitbox winner of the award, he actually couldn't make it to the show. He's called down.
We have a picture of it, though.
So we have a runner-up.
Nice. Yeah, we'll figure something out, dude. That'll be rad, though.
Okay.
So I love shitboxes. Dude,
same here.
Everything sounds so... I can't tell you how excited I am about this show. And, dude, thank you.
I'm excited, too.
Oh, everybody in the Pacific Northwest and the surrounding areas. September 12th, Pacific Waterlands, Woodburn, Oregon. Be there. That's all I gotta say.
With hair.
Be there.
Right, be there with her.
All right. Dude, Joey, thanks again so much for being on the podcast. Is there anyone you want to shout out?
There's there might be a couple of people.
Shout out Carrie. She was the one who hooked us up.
Carrie's got good stories too. Definitely a shout out to Carrie. Absolutely. DJM Lady is what she goes by, her little license plate on her Jetta. Nice. But yeah, definitely hit her up. See if she's willing to chat with you about what it's like to be married and a business partner of a Volkswagen Chunky.
That'd be a great podcast.
Maybe you guys could chat about that. But definitely David Olson. He's got a lot to tell you.
Shout out David.
And let's see, more will come to me, and I'll let you know. Stay tuned.
Perfect, dude. Well, this won't be the last time I have you on, that's for sure. We'll chat again. But
I'd
thanks.
love to be on again. Anytime you're ready to BS and let it out, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, dude, I know you're ripe for some other stories that we didn't get to flesh out this one. So we're gonna have to run this one back for sure.
No problem. No problem. Anytime you're ready, bro.
Dude, Joey, thank you so much again for being
Absolutely,
on the podcast. 100% appreciate it. It was great to talk to you. And thanks to everyone for listening. Bye.
Fuck yeah, Volkswagen.
Fuck yeah. Sheesh.